Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at the SIG 530 or SIG 540 or SIG 542 bayonet. Now as far as I can tell, this particular bayonet doesn't have a model name, but it's made to fit a whole series of the SIG rifles. Now you'll notice I've got two flags at the top here. While this bayonet was designed by SIG in Switzerland, due to a whole bunch of political issues domestically, they were manufactured by a French company called Manuan, and that's an abbreviation for Manufacture de Machines de Haute Rune. And they made them from 1978 until about 1988. Now, I'm not certain exactly how many of the rifles or bayonets were made, but from what I can tell, these bayonets were only used on the French rifles, so the rifles that were sold internationally didn't come with these bayonets. French used these rifles as a interim between the MAS 49-56 and the FAMAS. So essentially, France had some involvement in the Middle East in the late 70s in Kuwait, Lebanon, a whole bunch of other little places. And they were coming up against AK-47s, and their MAS 49-56s weren't up to the task, having a smaller magazine. It's very much an antiquated rifle compared to what they were coming up against. So they expedited manufacturing of a bunch of SIG rifles, the 540s, and used those as an interim until they got large numbers of the FAMAS. But from what I can read, the SIG rifles, and particularly these bayonets, were issued to the French Foreign Legion, and they did see a little bit of service overseas, although not a terrible lot. Now, they were quickly obsolete, and they were taken out of service pretty quickly when the FAMAS started getting issued. And as a result, these bayonets are actually quite difficult to get your hands on and to track down. I've only seen 2 or 3 sell like in the last year. So they don't come up very often. I don't know how many of them are made, how many of them are in the collector's market and circulation. But they're an interesting little bayonet. Now, the reason I've got the 2 flags at the top is I'm a little uncertain as to which country I should really designate this bayonet as belonging to, because while it's designed in Switzerland, it's made in contract under France and used by the French military. So you can make your decision what's more appropriate, Switzerland or France, I don't know. Now, I'll go into the construction of the bayonet itself. Now, a couple of you might have noticed that it bears a lot of similarities to the FN FAL Type C bayonet, which I've got here. One moment. So it's a modern socket bayonet with a rounded blade on the bottom that culminates into a tip. Not nearly as much as the FN. This is nowhere near as pointy or as sharp. And then, much like the FN, it has a 22mm socket. Now, if you watched a couple of my other videos, you might have heard me make reference to NATO using 22mm rifle grenades. Because they had a standard rifle grenade, all NATO countries had to have a standard muzzle device of 22mm to accept the grenade. When you've got a muzzle device of 22mm and you want a socket bayonet, they're all going to be 22mm. So, pretty much every NATO bayonet out there has a muzzle diameter of 22mm, and that's the same here to accommodate the muzzle device. Now, when these are fitted to the rifle, they're actually fitted with the blade running horizontally down the bottom. So you think of a bayonet, you think of something sort of more vertically mounted with a vertical blade. These are mounted at the bottom, at the base. I'll see if I can find a photo and put that up. And the blade is actually running flat in line with the muzzle, which is quite a different look. I can't think of another bayonet that looks like that off the top of my head. But looking at the actual construction, We've got our blade. The edges are not sharp at all. It's literally just a pointy thing. The top is flat with slight edge machined into the tip there. If I can get that to focus, thank you. Got a round bottom. Towards the tip here, there is a little bit of a... You can kind of see it there. It's sort of machined up a bit into a point. Then moving down, we've got our little plastic polymer crossguard, not very sturdy. The actual socket itself running down, I'll call that the bore or the muzzle. It's metal on the inside, plastic on the outside, ribbed. And then we've got our catch down the bottom. So the catch here, you depress it at the top, and if I can get the lighting right, you'll see it drops this catch here. There you go. And there is just a spring. Focus, please. You might have to take my word for it. There's a spring just here where my finger is, and that's what keeps this side up, this side down. You have to depress it to disengage it. It is ramped, so you can just slide it onto the rifle and click it into place. You don't need to deploy the button to attach it. Looking at the scabbard, very, very simple, very light polymer scabbard. Drainage hole at the bottom, and frog with a bunch of studs. There's nothing too fancy about it. It's very, very light. I think it's the lightest scabbard I've ever held. It weighs, oh god, absolutely nothing. And across the bayonet and the scabbard, there is not a single marking that I can find. I've read that other people have numbers that are imprinted on the back of their scabbard, like a number 1 or a number 2. And I think that's a like a mold number or something like that. But there's no proof marks, there's no ownership marks or anything like that. A lot of the old French bayonets had a whole bunch of interesting markings for the director of the factory and all that. None of those are on here at all. No manufacturing marks at all. So completely bare. So it's a pretty interesting little bayonet. I've waited to get my hands on one for a little while, and quite nice, quite different. Anyway, if I made any mistakes, guys, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any interesting information, I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching.